What is going on? I got my good friend Guelory Brutus Smith on today, and I'm super excited to have you on here. Guelory, man, what's going on, dude? What are you up to?
Dude, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited at doing this with you right now. Actually, it's so funny you asked. I'm in the process of planning my next event, which you had attended to the previous times, but I'm currently working on putting together my next event, and it's just been an amazing journey and enjoying such a beautiful day outside. I don't know about you if you've been outside yet. I'm sure you have, but dude. Summer's upon us, and so it's a grind right now. How you doing?
Man, I'm great. Like you said, I have actually had the pleasure of being outside a little bit today. Hopping between clients and such. Driving around with the roof back on the Jeep, so catching my sunlight. Getting ready for a trip coming up. So just grinding right now as best as I
Nice.
can, man. Excited to hear that the new event is kind of coming up. But before we kind of dive into that, would you mind giving a little bit of a background onto who you are for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you already mentioned, my name is Guelory Smith Brutus. I am the founder of Build Your Own Narrative LLC. I'm also the vice president of Change for Haitian Youth. And really, my focus has been on helping other business owners and entrepreneurs. And so, specifically with Build Your Own Narrative, my mission is to empower small business owners through personal branding and their journey as far as using social media marketing and really being able to attract new clients and as well as being able to help them elevating their story. And so I've been able to do that for the past year and a half now. And really this year has been the year where I've been diving deeper. But I've also, as I mentioned, am the vice president of Change for Asian Youth, where we focus on helping students in Haiti learn how to speak English, as well as computer literacy courses. And I've been doing that for over close to 5 years now. So it's crazy how time's been flying by. But yeah, since before the pandemic, right before the pandemic, we had put ourselves in this space. And now it's just counting down. And I'm just so excited to be able to get on this journey and continue helping people in however best way I can.
Nice, man. Yeah, it sounds like I know personally that you've got a lot of stuff going on. But I don't know exactly how you got started with everything. Could you kind of back it up a little bit and kind of so I because I know Build Your Narrative has kind of been your main project that you've really been focusing on, but because it just started as an idea. Can you take me back to where that idea kind of generated, where you were, and kind of like how everything got started? It was before Change for Haitian Youth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy you ask. I mean, these are stories when we get a chance to talk to people. I think a lot of times you get like 5 minute segments to really talk to, but you may or may not remember through speaker school that we've gone several times together, but it really started all while I was in college. And basically, it was as a result of everything that I was going through in college, as a way where each year that I was spending in college was teaching me a life lesson as far as like writing my own story and being able to really share with the world what it is I'm after as far as making a difference. And so, really, ever since my freshman year, I could remember I was already looking into The Secret, which you may or may not be familiar with. I'm sure you are. But I remember I was like a freshman and I was like, oh my God, like, what is this, right? Like, looking into the possibilities and hearing about the Gary V's of the world. And so, not until it was towards my junior year, when I was going through this transitional period of figuring out what it is that I was looking for and trying to make a difference. And so, basically, time frame in terms of starting Build Your Own Narrative took place when I started to discover the word entrepreneurship itself when I was 21 years old, working as a software engineering intern for these two startup companies and getting to have an opportunity to also do professional development myself. and seeing the possibilities of being able to do something because I had read an article about another 21-year-old who had just sold his first business for $1 million at the time. And I was like, what? How is this even possible? Like at 21 years old, can you imagine selling your business for $1 million?
It's crazy.
So when I had seen that, it just kind of sparked the idea in me. And I was still looking for my own process, and I was kind of going through my self discovery and personal development journey. Started listening more to the Gary V's and Tony Robbins, Les Brown, who had a big impact, and also ET, right, Eric Thomas, who has major impact on so many people. But not until after I graduated college that I decided to actually launch Build Your Own Narrative. But the semester before I graduated, I decided that I would make that happen because one day the gentleman whom had sold his business at 21, probably now in his early 30s, but had just started doing podcasts like this. And I was listening to one episode he had on the Breakfast Club, and he was talking about how people, we all writing our own stories. And then it just hit me. That's really what I was doing. And he goes by the name of John Henry. You could look him up. You'll see a lot of great things made about him.
Mhm.
Currently, right now, he's in Texas, starting his insurance company, helping minorities, but also everyone else in regards to not having to go to their credit score, which is something in the insurance industry that is a whole different conversation. But
Mhm.
um, when he said that, and I was like, oh my God, I get the opportunity to write my own story. And I can help other people do the same thing. And if I can help somebody like yourself write their stories and tell it to the world in a way that can elevate them, we get an opportunity to really make an impact. So uh, the very first day I interacted with you, which was probably a brief interaction, but it was at Brendan Guelory's event. It really all hit me at that time. I'm like, I could be doing the same thing. Like I've been doing this for a while, and seeing Brendan doing it, who is not from Stanford, and came through and was able to do it in such a manner. I told him after, I was like, dude, listen, we could be doing some great work. And I've been working on these new things and working on these nonprofit and these ideas, but quite frankly, um, you inspire me, and I really want to give this opportunity to work together. And so, following that event, I decided to register my LLC, and a year and a half later, here we are.
Boom! It moves so quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know. I had just turned 25 years old, and I was like, if not now, then when? So, it's such a journey because I mean, I spent roughly about 7 years in school, more than I needed to, but each year during that time I was spending in school, like I feel like I was taking a life lesson that was
Mhm.
really helping me to learn how to build my own narrative and build that story for myself. And so from that, I realized there were so many things in which that I am now applying was due to the fact that I went to the journey. So like however much I can say, I spent way longer than I needed, but I needed to spend these years in order for me to be where I am today.
Yeah, really setting the groundwork. And I love what you said about just diving in and getting your LLC registered. I don't know the exact quote, but it reminded me of one. It's a question. It says, like, you know when the best time to plant, yeah, the best time to plant a tree? And the answer is 10 years ago. So you can sit underneath the shade. Second best time to plant a tree is right now. So that goes right to
Exactly.
like the LLC. Like, yeah, you could have got the LLC done as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But next best time to do it is immediate. So getting
Exactly.
that done.
Right, right, right.
So tell me a little bit more. So you just graduated not too long ago, correct? From Stanford,
Yeah, so quite
from
frankly,
UConn.
yeah, I went to the University of Connecticut. I started in Stanford, and then I went to the Storrs campus, and I came
Mm.
back to Stanford. But the graduation ceremony took place at Storrs campus. But this was all during the pandemic era, So we couldn't really go to the main campus for the graduation. So the graduation, everybody was done at our biggest field in Hartford, where they get to play the football. The football team
Nice.
gets to play, and yeah, I mean, it was a journey. Then it's been a year and a half now, going into two. Actually, it may have just hit 2 years. It's crazy. I think it had just hit 2 years, but 2 years since I had graduated college now, and really, it's been an interesting journey then, because I had just started to finally decide to dive in, and I was like, "All right, I'm just gonna dive head on." Now, I don't recommend this to everybody, but one of the things I did, I don't think you know this, but I ended up spending over 15 grand in my own personal development journey for these past 2 years. And that is one of those things that really helped make the transition happen, because right after I attended the event that we talked about, I decided to also fund for a coaching program with Tony Robbins Group.
Mm.
So I had already started to look into this program, and I was already making strides towards it. But I was like, you know what? I think I want to sign on for the elite program, because I wanted to figure this out. And it's like, we got the chance to go to Miami and see Floyd Mayweather, and the way it was like seeing how he was able to draw so much attention, but also navigating a different side, because it was interesting for me to see what is portrayed in the media versus the actual person you got to see in person. I was like, oh, it's not the same guy, but he's able to amass such wealth. How was he able to do it? Right. And I was like, all right, let me invest into my personal development. And I had signed up for that Tony Robbins Group program for about 6 months of coaching. And long story short, I put it all on my credit card. And I don't recommend this to everybody, because quite frankly, I'm still paying for it right now. But it was what I needed to take the first steps until I got to, do the things I'm doing now, speaker school and getting to speak on stages. But it was just a preparation, because it was having to make up for the years for not having to take enough action prior. Where now I felt like, okay, everything is in motion, especially that I just celebrated my 27th birthday a couple of days back, not too long ago. And the reality is hitting me more, because there's so many things in which I want to accomplish in the next few years. But then I'm like, if I'm not able to actualize on these things, how am I able to serve the people that I want to serve, right? So, um, that is really how certain things have been able to accumulate over the years.
Yeah, I love that totally. Next, I wanted to kind of bring up, because you mentioned a couple of different mentors and people who've kind of been like role models and such for you. Who would you say are some of the top impactors to your life, and have kind of helped you guide you to where you're at today?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few people. It's interesting, because I have Tony Robbins in first, because he happens to be somebody that I would watch on YouTube just to kind of listen to and get motivated by. And then, of course, Les Brown, Eric Thomas was probably may have been the first one, because it was a gym teacher that I had. He wanted to motivate our class. I mean, doing gym in high school, people take it seriously, but not really. To get us pumping, he would be like, all right, listen to this motivational video. It was just for fun. It was like, if you want to succeed, something along those, as bad as you want to breathe, the famous line he has. But then also, my dad had been a big role model to me in so many ways. I've seen him work a lot. And then over the time, I got a chance to see some of my cousins who were already doing some amazing things, and some people that just inspired me even more after in the world of business. David Meltzer. David Meltzer
Mm.
had a big impact, because I started seeing him more on social media, and of course Ken Jocelyn, whom you know of, and whom I had the opportunity to meet through his conference, and also got a chance to meet David Meltzer because of his conference. And so, these people have had enough influence on me because from that time on, it was just like, okay, well, if I can see somebody like that who's doing it, and I remember all I was looking for people in which I can identify with, that I can kind of connect with, to be able to figure out, okay, how is it I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Um, and of course, that had made a big transition for me because once I got to see what it was like and just taste what possibilities were, it just shifted my mindset to what can even be possible.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, people are always saying it, how your network is directly related to your net worth. So getting out and always networking and making connections. And it doesn't always have to be transitional to or transactional too. You gotta really be in the game of relationship development and really showing up for people and being there when it matters, doing whatever you can, whether it is just showing up or bringing something or bringing a friend or something like that. These are things that help others when they're trying to do a lot of things that we're in that kind of world of doing. Um, that being said, I see you constantly connecting and hosting these new workshops and events and things like that. And I see you got the ball rolling, and everything seems to be moving pretty smoothly for you. Would you mind sharing an experience or a time even, or maybe just a specific challenge that you might have encountered over the years with getting things started? Somewhere along the line that's given you a little bit of traction. It was a little tough to get through, but maybe you definitely came out on the side, or maybe you're still working through something.
Yeah, great question. I mean, there's so many stories I can dive into. But I think, first of all, I just want to quickly acknowledge what you just said. Relationships don't always have to be transactional. And I think Ken Johnson said it best, it's transformational, right? Like over the years, if we're able to have relationships with people that can be transformational, the transactions that take place are just a byproduct through the transformations that I've been able to get in through the relationship growth. So, it's so significant because of the people who you surround yourself with, how much they impact you and they influence your abilities to make money, but then also to have positive impact on others. And so for me, one of the biggest challenges that I faced was hosting my first event. It's funny, you may or may not remember this, but I think we had just chatted over the phone. I had reached out to you, and I think I was inviting you to the event or something like that. But we may also had something that we were working on. It was probably the time doing one of our early touch base and coaching sessions. And you're like, dude, like, is everything all right? Well, quite frankly, where I'm sitting at right now, at the Hotel Zero in Norwalk, um, I wanted to launch my first workshop, my very first event, and I had a very short time frame. Now I knew I was gonna go against the grain just to even try and do something like this, but I had just roughly about 2 weeks, and I had to put it all together. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it anyway, and just do my best. And the idea, while talking to Brendan Gerdoris, whom you know very well, like myself, I happen to just say, dude, if you can put yourself in a position to even do something like this, the way in which you do it can attract some people. And I don't know if at the time, not only may I have struggled with my inner self confidence and my ability to even pull it off, but then there were some limiting beliefs that I had that were preventing me to get this started. And one of the biggest challenges that I was going through was having to get people in the room. And now, mind you, I know how to get people in the room. I've gotten people in the room over times, especially through fundraising and gala and the nonprofit work. But this was my workshop. This was my baby, right? And this was something that I really didn't get a chance to do while I'm trying to figure this out. And I remember it's the day of trying to reach out to people, as many people, and I had reached probably over 60 people. And it was like, damn, everybody has something else planned. and it was just like so tough. No one was able to be able to commit to attending. And
Especially
it's just
last minute too, right? Because there's
of
only
course
2
2 weeks
minutes,
and a half. So
2 weeks
like
notice.
I'm already like I'm like damn. But then the people that I was reaching out to though, this is where it really matters because knowing that if we're able to build relationships that are key with certain individuals that can help you in some aspect, but then also transformational, where it doesn't come across just transactional. These people were people that I had built relationships with over the years, and I know inside of me that I had done enough of a job to say that they would probably come through, but then at the same token, the expectations I had of them were false given the fact that I may not have gotten to do enough of the work on the back end to create the transformation for them to also commit on top of everything else they had going on. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because it's like, yeah, I would come through for you, bro, but I mean, I haven't heard from you in like 3 months. Like, what's going on? Now you tell me you got an event. Like, what's up? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool. And unfortunately, that very first event, nobody showed up. And I remember walking into the room. I was like, damn, like no one's coming through. And I had only about one or two friends that had only purchased tickets at the time. And it really hit me because it was like, damn, one, I got to do a better job with the people that I'm considering to be friends and being able to be there for them. But then also having to recognize, okay, like what it really takes to be able to do something. And crazy enough, the next time that I tried to do this around, I mean, you got a chance to witness it. People were standing outside the door.
Yeah.
So at the other side of that, how I was able to overcome it is one, I was able to better prepare and better plan for the process because I had too short of a window to even market myself and plan, but then also just having to get myself in a position so that I get a chance to really um, touch on those relationships that I built to be able to make the transformation. But thankfully, from that time, after I realized what I did do right and did do right, wrong, take from that and captivate it through the next time to the point where people were sitting outside the door. I mean, um, the next time I did it, it was a great turnout and people enjoyed themselves. So that was definitely a challenging time for sure.
Yeah. I love what you were saying there about how you were you were expecting all these things from your friends, and no matter how close your friends are, nobody's really going to care about your business, your side hustle, your thing quite as much as you are. And although they are always going to be there to try to support you in whatever way possible, it's difficult for that. And oftentimes I feel like when you're trying to do something, get new people together, and you're always trying to look for as many people as you can get because you want your events and you want your projects and things to go successfully, so you want to get as many people as possible. But doing that, it's very easy, just like you were saying, it's easy to kind of forget about the people closest to you. So if you spend all your time searching for new people, new clients, new prospects and such, you lose the people that are closest to you. It's kind of like that thing where everyone's always where it's like the grass is greener, grass isn't always greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. So if you spend time spreading it out, always looking for new people, you're just never going to have those people around you. So that definitely goes back to our talk earlier about relationships and like making sure that you nurture those closest to you so that you can have that strong support system, because they need stuff from you just as much as you need stuff from them. So as long as it's always that two-way street, I feel like that's where things kind of get going. And I know a lot of our friends who host other events too, we do the same thing. Everyone's always touching base and staying up to date, and it's always, hey, what's going on? How can I help you kind of situation. And that's really goes to show how much you got going through that. Now, I do want to kind of bring it a little bit, change the subject a little bit. So we kind of discussed on one of the struggles and challenges that you went through and you overcame. Now, when you're going through something like that, it can be very daunting and it's very upsetting when things aren't going the way that you want it to be or things aren't flowing as smoothly as possible. What are some things you personally do to kind of keep your mood and your energy levels up? Because, dude, you're one of the nicest guys I know. I don't think I've ever seen you without a smile on your face. Even if you're stressful or something, I would have no idea because you're just always a cheerful, happy dude. So, what are some things or practices, or yeah, or anything that you do that kind of keeps your mood elevated and your energy levels high?
Absolutely, absolutely. Uh, Again, first of all, I just want to say, let me just acknowledge what you just brought up. You hit on so many great points as we were wrapping that conversation earlier. Um, you may or may remember this when I shared this quote before. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right? It's a quote by Theodore Roosevelt. And it's such a beautiful quote because it really expands more on the relationships you build and how sometimes we may want others to show up for us versus how they're showing up for us and the expectations that we create, knowing that sometimes there's different correlations that take place in that process. But it's such a beautiful opportunity knowing that we've got a chance to build a community here to be able to support one another in some ways or another. And so, personally, one of the things that I've been able to do sometimes, um, I've gotten this before. I say thank you a lot. Probably say thank you too much. I'll be like, dude, thank you so much for coming over. Thank you so much. Like, yeah, that's a dude that says thank you a lot. But you know what it is? It starts
Oh my
first.
God, dude. Yeah, I'm so thankful for you for hopping on the show today. And 10, 20 minutes ago, you're thanking me in text message. I'm like, dude, no, thank you.
Right. It's so funny how you say that. It's just I love to express my gratitude to people because I know how hard it is to do certain things, especially given the fact that the effort that it is that we're putting on, like right now, to put on this show, product that you're putting out, the whole podcast you're starting. It's not an easy thing. Like I've said, like I probably need to get some pointers from you, right? So one of the best things that I do, like I do this exercise, which is called priming. It's a 15-minute time frame that I get to spend to express three things in which I'm most grateful for, three things in which I'm looking forward to, and three things in which I also look forward to having to take place in my life. Right. So Tony Robbins has a video on YouTube. You can look it up. It's called Priming. And it's a way in which you get a chance to reprogram your subconscious mind, but also express gratitude. And then also my faith in regards to my belief in God, right? Like I tend to say I want to probably always express my abilities to talk about my faith in some aspect, in some ways, but also recognizing, you know, not necessarily so much about preaching the gospel to so many people, but how is it that I can be an example of the presence of God within me so that others can be impacted in a positive manner to be able to have a good impact, right? Because what I tend to find, especially when it comes to feeling the abundance that surrounds us, starts with the gratitude that we express towards one another, right? The reason being, certain things we take for granted, an aspect of recognizing, like, okay, all right, yeah, exercising the body is definitely part of it too, because you know this, it helps our get to our state on a heightened mood in a way that can get us to really be captivated, but then also get to exercise the mind, right? And so I think it starts with exercising the mind, exercising the body, and being able to understand that in different aspects of it all, how we tend to show up for ourselves and others, will also get a chance for people to see what it is that you're about that could really make the impact. Because if I can exercise my mind by expressing the gratitude, it get me in this state where I can really operate even better. But then on top of that, exercising my body, even if it's just a 10-minute workout, right? Like this morning, I did like a 10-minute high intensity workout. I went to the park. I was like, I'm going all in. really getting my mind going and my body exercise, and it felt great. Like I've been able to have such a great day right now. And mind you, I have some family things going on that's like I should be going crazy for, and I even have some personal things I got to do. But it's helping me keeping my mental sanity in a way that I get a chance to bring on the smile that you talked about.
Yeah, dude, I love that because obviously, obviously from my background that I take training and activity and movement very seriously, and I feel like that's definitely a great grounding habit or routine or attribute to have is always making sure that you're moving yourself. Not only is it making you feel better, but it's making you physically stronger, which will make you more resilient for when things do go wrong. And I feel like physically, that's your body. So when things aren't going the greatest, you can definitely it'll show up. Like you start feeling achy or tired and things like that. So when you train yourself, you train hard and you put yourself through that movement, it gets you prepared for more challenging things. And on the other side of that, gratitude, that's something that I've recently really dove deep into. It's always been something small that I felt like it's something I needed to do. And through the course of the past couple of years, I've been practicing gratitude a little more here, a little bit there, kind of falling off a little bit. But recently, I've made a real big commitment to make sure that I do at least three things that I'm grateful for every single day. And I think I'm at day 57 right now in a row. Usually, I get up to around 14 to 20 days, and then I'll fall off. Something will happen, and I'll miss something and reset. But right now, I'm going strong. I'm up to like 57. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
hanging in
That's
there. And I love the
awesome.
priming exercise too. I got to check that out. So speaking of your workout there, I love that too, that you just agreed to getting something in because for a lot of my clients, I write these programs and I try to get as much detail as I can from them about their availability. Because the last thing I want to do is just write a program where they're working out 2 hours a day for 7 days a week. And that just becomes overwhelming. So I've been really trying to put together like a framework where it's like a 45-minute to a 60-minute workout. But what I've started doing is prioritizing the exercises. So making sure that you at least get a few things in. So if you don't have a lot of time, or if you're not really feeling motivated to do a full long workout, just getting into the swing of things and just kind of getting the heart rate pumping. So oftentimes kind of gets things rolling into workout, which I kind of feel also works in the business world too. I know you had said something earlier that I believe you were talking to Brandon about with the doing the events and how it kind of builds momentum and spurs up some energy. Have you felt that to be true when you're hosting events and when you're showing up to a lot of different events and you're just working and putting a lot into the universe? Do you feel like you start to feel a lot to return to you?
Yeah. What's this quote? It's those. I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember. It may even be in the Bible. But it's the law. It's a law, really. Right? It's like, um, oh, whatever you reap, you sow.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are somebody that is putting out great things and planting seeds to really help somebody else, or impacting somebody else, you're gonna reap that. It may not be from the person themselves. Most of the times, it's not even from the people in which you're helping or the
Mm-hmm.
things that you're doing. It's others in which that you don't even think of are reaching out to you and you're like, oh, dude, what you were doing was so amazing. Like today, actually, through my LinkedIn page, I had somebody reached out and commented on something that I've never even spoke to that person. Like I know who they are, but I've never even spoke to them about what I do and remember what I do. And I was like, man, like look, somebody I would never even thought of is paying attention. And so I believe it to be true because it's the law of the universe, but it's also human nature. Uh, I think part of it is this is for me where I credit God in this way, but He does these things in a way where like universally we all get to experience this because really when you think of whatever you reap and you sow, you are giving so much of yourself. You find ways that you try to put yourself out there. And, some other people will show up for you that you may not even think of. And some capacity. And I strongly believe in that because I recognize, like, you know, it's just like you said, a workout. You start to get the momentum. You go and do the routine, and you may fall off here and there, but as soon as you can pick yourself back up, right? Like right now, I'm having to create the things I need to do so that I can get everything in motion, right? So, um, that those attentions that I've been able to get in some ways are positively, and people are asking for, oh, okay, what's next? Like, what's going on? You know, and how can I help you or stuff like that? And so it's just one of those things where I now recognize even more how much of that value needs to be replicated because if you're someone that is adding so much more value to other people, you're more likely to get that value in some way than you can even imagine. Like we can take our friend Brandon, right? Like sometimes I'm like, damn, this dude is doing so many things. Like, how does he even have the time to do as many things, right? Like I'm like, bro, what are you doing? But then you see him show up for you and each other in some ways, and you're like, okay. And like you now feel the need to show up for him even more because you're like, damn, the way he showed up for me there and these people, like, nah, I gotta do even more for him. Well, what's happening here is a law of reciprocity too, because if you showing up for so many other people in so many little ways, people are gonna want to show up for you in those ways as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something so magnificent where, you know, they're, I don't know, buying you a house or something like that. But it's something small enough as just being present. I'm reading this book right now, which you may be familiar with, The Power of Now. And The Power of Now, dude, like this book is just talking about being present and being able to understand how significant it is. Like even in this experience that we're having right now, we're captivating what we're listening and you know, and thinking about how much of that plays a part to some of the things that we working towards. I believe it's even more stronger for us to do things in which that will benefit other people without having any expectations because the return on that investment will be 10 times more than what we might even think we'd be deserving to have.
Oh yeah, definitely, dude. It's always putting out the more that you can produce, the more that you'll be able to consume on the back end. I feel like just helping others produce too is just amplifies your results, and that's awesome too. You mentioned The Secret earlier and The Power of Now just now. What are some other books that you've read or have been an impact for you?
Yeah, something we should have in common. Think and Grow Rich is a really great book, right? And also, I'm working on finalizing myself through The 100 Millions, I believe, first by Alex Moisey. It's a
Yeah,
book that I always got to go back to. I mean, he even said it in the book itself. Um,
yeah, that was a great one. I
yeah.
actually bought it on audiobook and
Mm.
I listened to it about 4 times. And I was like, you know what? I need to just buy the physical copy because I need to see some of these artworks and stuff in here. So
Right.
I definitely know it about.
Yeah, it's such a magnificent. Oh, one thing he talks about in the book, which is you know how sometimes we listen to something and then we get a chance to see it and read it, like you had mentioned you had to do. It helps even more because as you're listening and you're reading, you're even retaining those information even better. So another great book is The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. I don't know if you heard that book before, but The 4 Hour Work Week. So like before I used to think like, oh, do I need to work 4 hours a day, 4 hours in a week for me to do the work? But um, I had to then understand like, let's say if I can dedicate 4 hours of deep work, no distraction a day, dude, like it would be more 10 times productive. And we might think of then just like, you know, you do 8 hours, but like in between you're like on your phone, you're checking social media, you're going back and forth and stuff like that. But those deep work you can produce even more. So that's a great book that I'm reading.
That's actually a major staple for me in starting my business
Right.
because it opened my eyes to not necessarily fast tracking it, but it was kind of bringing awareness that it is possible for myself to kind of build and do something. So that was one of the stepping stones that I had used to kind of get my ball rolling in court.
Wow, that's awesome. Um, and I'm sure you've heard of the 7 Habits of the Highly Effective People. And
Yep.
that's another great book that I'm finalizing. And a book I don't know which you may have heard, but it's um, by Eric Ries, and Eric Ries is an innovator, um, and he talked about this book. It's called The Lean Startup. So the Lean Startup really takes into consideration. So even as small business owners right now, we're founders in some capacity. Even if it's just us working and may have some people that do contract work in some aspect, but some ways you are a startup. We are startups, right? So I'm taking an approach where goes into like Toyota, for example, how they started their business in a manner that can help them scale even more. So the Lean Startup is another great book that I'm working on finalizing that I would highly recommend for any business owner getting into this
Hmm.
brand of entrepreneurship.
Awesome. Yeah, some great books that I got to revisit on a couple of those and check out
Mhm.
also. But I mean, so made some major topics that we've kind of seem to be circling back up in our conversation here are the power of relationships and making sure that you're surrounding yourself with a lot of winners and gratitude too, and just being appreciative of what you have and of the people around you too. That being said, how can we start to help you out? What do you got going on? What do you got? Any kind of projects or anything coming up, or any ways of what are you working on right now?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. As you know, I've started a series of workshops in terms of digital marketing, social media marketing, having to really hone in on helping other people blow up their brand and getting a chance to get more people involved. And so, what I'm working on for this series is to bring a different side of marketing to the people and get a chance to do hands-on work. And I've been asking people for feedback, like you, just to hear more about what they want to hear. Um, and so, for I have the next workshop is going to be taking place on June 21st. Actually, going to be working with Brendan Gittison on that one. And this workshop is going to be focusing on also relationship building, digital marketing, but ultimately you know have entertainment side to it. The following day, that is a way to get really people going into that. Not only where they're building the relationships online, digitally, but in person, so I get a chance to really just have fun. Um, and so that's one major project I'm working on. And then the next one coming in July, I believe it's July 26th. And so that's one thing. And ultimately, what I'm really looking forward to be doing after hosting the series of workshops and having a major event is that I'm going to be looking forward to building the platform so much so that people like yourself get a chance to really speak on one of the things that you also got going on. Using that platform to gain new clients for you to be able to help your business and also embellish your personal branding journey because I genuinely believe that everybody has their own story in a manner that they can really share with the world that can really help impact people because there's someone out there that needs to hear your story and there's someone out there that really needs to identify with is what you're saying because part of it is so significant understanding that if we can be able to have an impact on each other in so many ways to influence one another, it'll make a difference. So, those are really the biggest things I'm working on right now. The nonprofit, we're going to be hosting a gala, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be taking place in September. We're working on getting some things. And even just trying to bring the culture to people, just educating others and putting them on to different things. And so, best ways to help me, and that's ways to spread the word. And just being able to captivate people's attention and letting them know about what we're doing. And because right now it's just about building the clientele, right? Being the client list so that we can refer other people to each other's business. So that's one of the major things that I have going on.
Def- Definitely, dude. I can totally help out, and I know a lot of friends will also help share. So where can we find more information about the events, the workshops, and all those things, and also even just to stay connected with you if anybody wants to reach out or ask you any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. On the social platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. So it's Guelory, Guelory, and also the website is www.buildyourown.narrative.com. You can also, just the way how it sounds, build your own narrative. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Plug in with me that way. I'll be more than happy to respond to any questions and really get a chance to connect with everybody and find ways in which we can help one another.
Awesome. Yeah, man. Perfect. Gonna be able to reach out and looking forward to all these events that you got coming up, man. There's a lot
Absolutely.
of stuff coming. I can feel a lot of that energy.
Yeah.
Do you got any last words of wisdom you want to share with people?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I actually have a question for you. If that's okay, I'd love to hear a little bit, especially coming from a training perspective. For somebody like yourself that has started into the journey over the years and being able to get yourself to the position that you are in, how have you been able to make the transition so much so where now? I think we recently celebrated your 5th year, not too long ago, being in business. And I mean, this is just about a year and a half that I'm in. But how have you been able to, one, get yourself into this position, but two, also maintain your physicality and mental sanity to get to this point?
I mean, the short and sweet answer to that is the 6 pillars of my coaching program, man. That's really how I've survived the side hustle and continue working through it. It's getting moving, being active, training myself physically hard. It's consuming well, so eating quality foods and making sure that I'm consuming the correct kind of media. So I'm not just binging Netflix endlessly. I'm constantly consuming good content that's bettering me, personal development type of world. And then it's the mindset. It's the practicing the gratitude and staying as positive as possible. Um, and then it's my habits and routines, just kind of building everything together and making sure that I'm living the life that I want to live on paper first. Once I can write down those routines and such, then I start implementing those and habit stacking so that I can start practicing being the person that I want to be. Because you continue to practice being that person, eventually you're just going to wake up and you're going to be that person. And then number five is just surrounding myself with winners, man. Just getting around people like you, like our buddy Brandon, and so many others, just surrounding each other and not only not only just looking for people that can better me, but figuring out ways that I can help others. So I'm no good to anybody if I can't help them in any way. So making sure that I'm surrounding myself and helping be that best person. And then finally, last thing is making sure that I'm getting invited back. So going back to that, making sure that I'm constantly performing selfless, nurturing acts of kindness just every day, just kind of putting that out whenever I have the opportunity, whether that's just holding doors open for people walking behind me or grabbing shopping carts and putting them back in the parking lot so other people can park their cars. It's just that constantly getting invited back mindset, really. And that's kind of how I went from being that burnt out personal trainer to now getting to where I'm at and getting to do the things that I want to do, really.
Dude, I love that. Thank you for expanding on that because one, now I have an even better idea of your 6 pillars of your coaching program, but I'm sure even the listeners too, right? Because it's so significant because we get lost in so many things that we do and trying to make sure that the people know. Sometimes we may think the people know, like you, but they don't know. One thing in which I've learned about social media marketing, no matter how many times you think you've promoted something, shared something once or twice, it's not enough.
Yeah.
It has to be constantly in the people's mind and every mind because we're constantly getting bombarded with so many informations, so many other things that we may not always want to. And so I'm so happy to hear that you said that. Um, yeah, I'll just kind of transition to the last words of wisdoms that I believe I've been able to get, especially these past few years. And, I was making some reflection after celebrating my 27th birthday, and I was like, man, what is it that I'm grateful for, really? And how is it that I am going to make the changes that I'm now looking forward to? And I realized that one of the biggest things that it started with, of course, were the people, right? People like yourselves, Brenda, and so many others that we've been able to build a good community, our inner circle, right? And Ken Jackson talked about these three C's: the power of your community, your circle, and the people in your corner. And I feel like, I've been so grateful to get a chance to have some people in my community to be in my corner and so on and so forth. But then the other thing in which I think it's so important for so many people, like, because we all right now want something, but we really at the core want to experience joy, love, compassion, right? And a lot of times we feel the need to go in the external world to experience these things, but it really starts from within, right? Like, and you could think about so many different things in which you could be doing and how you can get about doing them. But if you yourself are not sure enough for yourself, how can you expect somebody else to show up for you? I remember talking to this billionaire and I was asking him, how did you get to this point where you are right now? And his first thing was like, love. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, yeah, man. It all started with love. Love for myself, love for other people, and love for the Lord. And I was just like, okay, so what does that even mean? It's like, well, I had to learn how to love myself and accept who I am and being able to show up for myself as well as the same for other people. But on top of that, also being able to express myself through my faith, through the Lord. And so it really captured me in a different way because now I realize how much more significant it is for us to not only love ourselves, love other people, but of course love the faith in which that we share it so that we can get a chance to have a positive impact on other people.
Awesome, dude. I love that. Some fire stuff here. I marked a bunch of different times where I got to revisit and make sure that we listen again. And dude, again, appreciate you so much for taking the time to coming on today, man. And looking forward to a lot of the events you got coming up. So
Yeah, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, I'll probably gonna keep thanking you. But also looking forward to so many things that you got going on as well. I know so many people could use your services and things like that, and so I'd be more than happy to share with everybody what you got going on. And by the way, you need to host a summer event. I told you this before, but I'm going to encourage you again because if you do an outside event, it'll be so awesome just to get the people body moving. So I'd be more looking forward to talk about that offline, but um, let's put something together for you, Daniel.
sounds good, man. Thank you again. It's great to see you, and I'm looking forward to the next event you got, man.
Yes, sir.
Talk to you soon, dude.
Talk to you soon, brother. Later.